What do you mean testing that WX25?
Or to what I explained to you earlier with the Mystic Tomato chain to kind of warm up. Most people use Scapegoat where if their opponent has several monsters on the field, they need to protect their life points. In response to the opponent declaring an attack, they would flip up the Scapegoat because it's a quick play spell. They're allowed to do that in instant speed in response to the attack. Then you get 4 of these sheep tokens on the field. And now your opponent has to get through this wall. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but like my old Yu-Gi-Oh standards, excuse me, that's actually just enough to maybe buy you an extra turn or two, and you're totally okay. This card essentially giving you 4 monsters that don't do anything because it's giving you more time to see more cards in your deck. Remember, it's not common for us to be drawing a million cards, so if we get to buy a turn or two with this card, that's totally okay. As Yu-Gi-Oh! Aged, Scapegoat became more and more of a utility type card just because of the fact that the sheet tokens are level 1 specifically, for a reason we're not going to go into in this video. But let's just say that it's a different type of special summoning mechanic that is not tribute summoning. That sort of takes advantage of the fact that these are level 1s. Also, other summoning mechanics as well that are other types of special summons. The scapegoats, the fact you get 4 guys that don't really do anything can then be converted into a much bigger threat. There weren't really many cards, and there still really aren't to this day many cards. That scapegoat can just produce 4 bodies on the field for you. I showed you the United We Stand combo. This was sort of like the playground dream that if you could just do this 2-card combo, have like a big guy, like you said, Jinzo, for instance, or anything, you could just maybe one-shot your opponent or get them almost to the point where you're dead. That really just only happened on the playground. In practice, it wasn't like too practical to happen, especially like higher teams. Like, and so you are correct. Scapegoat was never banned. This card was actually also been animated as well, used by one of the, not the main character, but side main characters. So, just a cute card. By Yu-Gi-Oh! Standards, a good card. I wouldn't say this card's bad by any means. But also, as Yu-Gi-Oh! Aged and these other summoning mechanics came to be, which we'll talk about in the videos, Scapegoat actually did re-enter modern play as being like a viable card to play, which is kind of cool that we got to play with this one card after all.
So I have a question, and sure, you might have answered this. It's just every time you come back to like locking in on the stuff is kind of like a whole new experience. What are your options when you attack? Because you say wall up. Like, I don't feel like it's like Magic where you choose what creatures block what, where the blocking player is agency, but maybe it is. And it's definitely not like Hearthstone where you can just go face unless there's time, right? Like, what are the options for the attacking and blocking player for time?
Sure. So think of it like Hearthstone, where the attacking player has agency, but the difference is every monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has taunt because you have to hit through the monsters before you can hit the life points. Does that make sense?
A lot of things make sense, sir. Monster. That's gone. Neat.
Yeah.
So they actually do have to. Okay, I see now what you mean by wall up. Okay, they have to kill these.
Correct.
Base.
There are some cards that allow you to attack your opponent directly, but it would say on the card, this card can attack your opponent directly. Those are pretty infrequent, and those cards are typically pretty terrible, unless there's like other utility for that type of card. Yes, so every creature has taunt. You have to hit through all their monsters. So with the instance of Scapegoat, you get 4 monsters that your opponent has to hit through. And remember, if you're only summoning a few monsters a turn, then it's going to take you at least 1, if not 2 turns to hit through all of them before you can hit your opponent's face again.
This is also a fog. Okay, I thought also, maybe I got the wrong impression, or maybe this was just one monster, but if a monster hits 0/0, doesn't its attack power go through? Is it like they all have trample and magic, or am I wrong about that? No.
So if the monsters are in defense position, which Scapegoat said special summons the tokens in defense position, if a monster attacks a defense position monster, you don't take any damage. Now, if the Scapegoats were in attack position, you would take whatever the damage is from that. There is piercing, which is the equivalent of trample in magic. So if a piercing
Yeah, I have a
monster came
question.
over a defense
What?
When can you
Scapegoat,
deposit your
then you would
money?
still take the damage.
So I'm updated.
I technically could have done it
Yesterday?
today,
Ah.
earlier.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, unfortunately, I forgot, and also I was like really hungry, and I had to poop, and I wasn't gonna wait in line at the ATM.
Oh, there's a lot of people in the ATM.
Sometimes.
Oh, you just got unlucky.
I'll tell you when I'm ready to buy.
Yeah, sure.
Attack position versus attack position equal trample is what I'm like in magic terms.
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing. And attack position versus defense position equal trump blocker.
Yes. 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 He's getting it. He's getting it.
Oh my god. Okay, this card is way better than I even thought it was.
But that's good. You understand that context. It's really good.
Okay. Go. We're getting it, guys. It only took me 3 videos. We're getting it.
It's okay. It's okay.
You know, comments are like, God, fuck.
They're gonna be so happy for you. They're gonna be so happy for you. One other thing I forgot to mention with Scapegoat too is that if your opponent has removal for your back row, since it's a card you can use at instant speed, you can chain it in response. So not only do you get your wall to protect yourself, but your opponent wasted that back row removal spell on the card. So it's almost like you got even more value out of it as well.
All right. Now I want to know, like, what is your back row? And I'm Yu-Gi-Oh! Mayman? No.
So similar to how we have 5 monster spell,
Here we go.
Yeah, so similar to how we have 5 monster zones, we have 5 spell and trap zones. So you know how we trap cards or with quick play spells, hey, you can set them face down. You do have a maximum to how many of those you can. And so the cards are also in the form of columns. They line up with your opponents. So there are some cards, especially more recently, they played with this mechanic. There are more cards that will line up. They'll have like column-based mechanics, we call them, where they will like interact with an entire column.
Weird. But okay. Gotcha.
You're getting it.
We're locking in bait. I told you I'm back to win this time. I'm not messing around. Been training all morning. Let's go.
Okay, your next card. We showed you a monster card, we showed you a spell card, let's show you a trap card.
Follow the hunted. Trap card. Target one monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target in face-up attack position. Okay. When this card leaves the field, destroy that target, the monster. This card leaves. When that target is destroyed, destroy this card. Okay. Like an enchantment called Animate Dead, as long as it stays on, the creature is animated. How do you destroy? Okay, there are cards that destroy trap cards. Remember this.
Yes.
It's like an interactable type. Okay. The trap card. That mean doesn't appear to have anything specific that activates it. So does this mean on your opponent's turn, like you can activate this, bring it out of the graveyard, and then they have to attack it?
So, since it's a trap card, as soon as after the turn you set it first, and you pass
Maybe I
away
can change the background.
at any point at instant speed, assuming you have the opportunity.
As well as my card
you can flip
binders.
this up to target a monster in your graveyard and special summon it in attack position. But you can also wait till your turn comes back around to you and do this on your own turn as well.
Either or. And it definitely comes back in attack position, which isn't good for defense, but I guess it's could be fine. Probably times worth. Yeah. The animating is pretty good. Cards that do that at low cost in Magic are premium and awesome. This does it for free because everything is.
That's gonna be the meme.
The special summon means it doesn't count towards your
You can't log out.
restrictions.
What the?
So it keeps cooking. Your turn just keeps going. So you said
Wait,
that
actually.
is focused on special summoning. So I'm imagining
No, I didn't
if
see.
you contribute something or special summon something, it can have an effect or maybe smash into the opponent's thing. go to the graveyard, then you play this, you bring it right back, you do you get
Look
back
at
your
you.
tomato with this, and you're cooking, baby. You're cooking for value. So obviously it's good. Also, you showed me a card that specifically went after graveyards last video, and this is the kind of thing that means, yeah, we've got to watch out for that, right? This is a red flag. There might be better versions, but it's hard to imagine because this is just kind of exactly what you're looking for. That bring something straight out of the graveyard. If you have a way to discard it, bring it straight out. If you have a way to just smash it in the opponent's thing, bring it straight out. Get your effect. Like having it entering the battlefield, bring it back, do it again. That stuff can be toxic with the right thing. So this card is good. Was it banned? God, we're going down this rabbit hole again. It depends. Is this common effect? How common can this be? Like, how many different ways can they make turns from graveyard to battlefield? And I'm not asking you, I'm reasoning. Don't answer that. In Magic, they have printed this card 100 times, thousands of times, but it's a free. No, that's the variety.
Oh my fucking thing broke.
This version of it with a huge downside.
You know what? This works.
And that version, they are not going to print it again. You lose life equal to its cost. Okay. It's like too good for Magic, I'm saying. It's still legal, right? It's right there as, oh, this is too powerful, but they're never going to put it in a format like Standard again. It's gonna be fine in Commander. Is basically what they're saying.
It's really what we want in a hand. I don't think so.
Back in Standard.
Or Yu-Gi-Oh is probably at the caliber.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Now, the way they print this for Standard, they print dozens of them in every set, it seems like, that are 5 mana. And that is really expensive and unplayable most of the time in Standard. And then they try to push it. They put all kinds of bells and whistles on to make it better, but then they try to push it to some 4 mana versions, and those get really close to busted. And there's a 3 mana version, and that is got a huge downside, and that's close to busted. And they can't make too many of this card, is what I'm saying. Like, this card doesn't have much, I can think of really any downside, unless there's something that just blows up all traps on contact, right? So they can't make many of this, I don't think. This definitely feels like a card that would get restricted. The graveyard thing got too good. Would it get banned? Maybe it had to be banned for a period of time while they figured out how to target the graveyards. You've shown me graveyard hate cards. Those really wouldn't exist if there weren't some need for it. So maybe this did spend some time being banned. I would totally Yeah, it's just got no downside, and okay, I'm gonna go for it. This spent time on the ban list. This one got
final answer.
Yep, final answer.
Alright. Do you recall maybe in one of the first episodes we did, I showed you the card Monster Reaper?
Yeah.
I'll refresh your memory. It's a normal spell card, so you don't have to wait a turn to play it, but you can't use it at instant speed. Monster Reborn lets you resurrect a monster. It can go in either attack or defense position, which sometimes matters. And you can pick either a card from your graveyard or your opponent's graveyard as well. And if you recall from that video,
By the way, I got a discard.
so just to give you some context, you already are aware that there are these types of effects in the game, and it's a card game. These types of effects are common.
Oh,
So
God.
Haunted
Man, I
had
mean.
a cool take on a resurrection style effect because it was the fact that you could do it at instant speed or be able to do it reactively in response to like what your opponent is doing gave this card a lot of flexibility. First of all, it just gave you more copies of ways to bring cards back, right? So it allows you to keep like more cards, which is fun. And Call the Haunted was neat because there are scenarios where you can go to your battle phase, attack your opponent directly with a bunch of monsters. They look and they're like, oh, they don't have lethal on the field. Yeah, I'll take all the damage. Then after you attack with everything, you activate Call the Haunted in the battle phase to bring back another monster and kill them with that final monster. And maybe they could have done something to prevent that had they would have acted earlier.
Your phases are wild. They are. It's like baloney. That sounds like made up the rules of the game in the middle of combat. No, you actually die.
Well, you would love the anime. You would love the anime if you're saying that. So there's also ways to use Call the Haunted defensively. Now, although the monster gets special summoned in attack position, let's say your opponent has 3 monsters on the field and they're weenies, and they go to attack you. In response to the attack, similar to Scapegoat, could actually call the Haunted to resurrect your biggest monster, and maybe that biggest monster has a high enough attack power that it walls off your opponent's 3 monsters. So now they can't actually attack through to your life points, and they just wasted their combat step.
Whoa. Okay. So you're telling me if you sneak in a monster and there are 3 things attacking, they all have to run into it until it's gone?
Well, so they wouldn't be able to run over it at all. Let's say this hypothetical example, you have 3 monsters with 1,500 attack on your side, right? If I go call the Haunted in response to your attack and resurrect a monster with 1,600 attack points, none of your 1,500 attack point monsters can kill over it. So essentially, unless there's a tactical reason for you to crash into it, say Mystic Tomato, for instance, now all of a sudden you basically are just going to pass your turn because you just can't do the damage that you were expecting to.
Okay. Ouch. Okay. Yeah, taunt. Like 3 little things running into a big taunt. That's what I have to think right. As. Okay.
Exactly. But the difference is, compared to Hearthstone, monsters in our game don't retain damage, right? It's favorite monster wins. So if you had a monster with 1,700 attack, for instance, then you could be able to hit over my 1,600 attack point monster. What's interesting, though, this is getting into the weeds of how technical our game can get. Let's take now this example.
Oh yeah, we're colorless. It doesn't matter what color we use.
1,700 attack point monster.
Yeah, primarily playing white, but I don't need to. I can always grow as long as I have the correct number of energy.
The 1,500 monster can't get over it. You have the option to declare an attack again because the monsters on the field changed, but you can't get over it. So now that monster isn't actually allowed to attack for the rest of the turn because it like attempted to attack, but you're deciding to call it off. What?
Monster, and I'm gonna run away, cowards!
Your 1,700 can hit over it, and then your other 1,500 can hit me directly, for instance. But now I've prevented you from hitting me for an extra 1,500 damage because that one monster isn't able to attack anymore. So just some like cool little tricks that you can do with this card. And at the end of the day, you're still bringing back monsters from your graveyard. So for all the reasons you said, you can use effects again. The downside of this card is that, yeah, if Call the Haunted gets destroyed, then your monster gets destroyed too. But like, cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's fine. They destroy it. Like, cool. They had to destroy it somehow. Right? But, yeah, fantastic card. And it was banned. There was a point where in Yu-Gi-Oh! The critical mass of cards you could resurrect from the graveyard was too strong that Call the Haunted did serve a short sentence on the ban list. By bottom standards, Call the Haunted's probably still like an okay card. It hasn't really seen any play just because there are better things you could be doing. But it is a perfectly, like, just decent card all around. Fantastic card for old people.
That's how good I am. I understand nothing, and I'm nailing it.
No, you're doing great. Great.
Yeah, I told you I'm coming back strong today.
All right. Well, let's see how strong you come back when you look at this card.
Level 5 monster, 2,000 attack, 1,500 defense with zombie effect. This card inflicts damage to your player 1 card type monster spell or trap. Or opponent sends
how do multicolor Stigny work for Shadow with something like this guy?
Your next standby phase, after this card
Am I gonna get hand ripped?
was destroyed and sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect. Special summon this card from the graveyard. I need a bigger notebook.
One black art.
Okay. So, we've got some interesting stuff going on. This card inflicts battle damage to your opponent. Declare 1 card type. Your opponent sends 1 card of that type from their deck to the graveyard. Their choice. So they grab their deck, go find 1 thing of the type you chose, and have to put that in the graveyard. What if they don't have, okay, paper card game, let's have some fun. What if they don't have any?
Then they just don't send anything.
Okay, what if they say they don't have any? Do you get to look at their deck?
This is funny. In old Yu-Gi-Oh!, there are cards that require you to look at your deck to that something they're trying to do is true or not. Over time, they have amended those rules to basically say, okay, you are a player that is going to be a good player and not just lie to your opponent's face So essentially, you don't get to check their deck if they say they don't have that card by like modern standards. And if you catch them that they lied to you, then you can just call a judge in that case and just be like, "Hey, here's." I say that has probably rarely ever happened.
Okay, sure. Judge, the card's stuck together. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's their deck too, so it's like, oh, Judge, it was in my hand at the time. Like, how do you get around that?
I gotta be honest with you, everything you're saying has probably never happened. Or if it's happened like once in the history of this game. So
No way! Are you? No. You guys all angels? Like, what is this?
what you're saying is just so unlikely to happen, right? Because like, okay, there's a 40 card deck. And so if you're looking at the basic composition of a deck, especially by like older standards, older decks would have anywhere from like 18 to 22 monsters and then like 10-ish spells and then like 10-ish traps, right? Maybe more spells than traps. So maybe it's like 18 to 20 and then like 12-ish, maybe 15 spells and then like maybe 5 to 10 traps depending on the type of deck that you're playing. So like statistically speaking, it's so unlikely that to happen that's why like they're coming up with this hypothetical that everyone in the comments is gonna be laughing at this.
Probably. I mean, look, for those of you who don't watch my stuff, all right, I don't make cheating scandal videos. I almost never talk about MTG cheating scandals, but I see them all, man. There's immediate alarm bells, and I'm just like, what? Okay.
Card's nice.
For instance, there's an old card called Mind Crush. Mind Crush is a card that says declare a card name, and then your opponent has to discard all cards of that name. Originally, it didn't say it on the card, but Mind Crush people would look at the opponent's hand to verify that they didn't have any copies of that card. Later, they changed it and said, okay, you can't do that anymore.
They lowered maybe the rate limit.
Straight and just be honest with you. And like they changed it. Mind Crush sucks because now you don't get the hand knowledge anymore.
Oh no, wait, right? That's just how that works.
It's never like really an issue at the end of the day. Okay, if you have a lot, they're just gonna get booted out of a tournament.
I'm down for this. Okay. I mean, I would like to believe like that sounds very wholesome and wonderful.
This is the special summon video.
Yeah. So. That was one of my things for evaluating this card, right? Because if you got, I remember what you said about hand knowledge. Lock that in. Blew my mind. And the idea was if you hit them with this, if you got to see their deck, reverse engineering of like what a deck has and would normally contain, that means you also know their hand. You know, if you get the time you need, or if you're just really good with, Rayman style memory, right? You see what's in the deck, and you can divulge what's in the hand, right? You can play around everything. So that would be busted. So it's not that. It does feel like you can still divulge something about the opponent's hand. Name a type, and you see what they put in their graveyard. You know what I mean? Maybe a little.
We're listening.
A really good player, I think, could do that. Could at least get something from it. Info is info. My other first thought is you don't want to put things in your opponent's graveyard because the graveyard's a second hand, but maybe that is mitigated by declaring a type. Maybe reanimating spells or getting spells back is normal, not something that's common. So that's what you're planning to need. And maybe this thing can take win cons. Maybe this can hit you and take win cons. Now that's all on the if you hit your opponent thing. And then the other part of this is it comes back for some reason.
So to clarify, it says inflict battle damage. That would also count if it runs over an opponent's attack position.
Oh,
it doesn't have to hit face. It doesn't have to.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's right. Trample. Yep, attack on attack is trample. Yep.
Yes.
And the special summons from the graveyard, which means you can keep playing more stuff. Feels like you can get a lot out of this card. The rate seems okay. Rate seems perfectly there. Seems like you can get a lot out of hitting people with this card, and I bet they hate it. I bet it's not fun. The opponent at all. Did it have to be banned? Like, it depends on if this was knocking other decks out of the format. Because if you have decks built around this one spell or type of spell, and you can just, by hitting them twice with this, they can't win, that's a terrible experience. But is that the thing, right? Was it, I can see people hating this enough, but is it actually good enough, or is this a get good moment? Your deck was. Yeah, if your deck is so narrow and so like limited that it folds to this, then maybe it is a level up moment, not a ban worthy moment. Although it is really weird for me that your format like kind of rotates based on bans. So this is much the way I have to look at these things is a little different. If this just pisses people off and makes their deck unplayable, then at some point you ban it for a window just to give them a chance to play it. Sure. Alright, let's try that logic. We're gonna see where it gets me. This card was at some point banned. I don't know. It's a final answer.
So your compatriot Raren also got to evaluate this card. Vampire Lord is a very neat card. The artwork's fun. It's got a lot going for it. First of all, it's just got like good typing. The dark attribute, like I said, is kind of like the most coveted attribute in the game because it's the most support, has some of the better cards. So it's got that going for it. 1500 defense, you see Witch of the Black Forest, so you can hypothetically search this card directly from the deck at any point if you want it. There's also a Valor card, you know what that is now, similar to Mystic Tomato, called Pyramid Turtle. Pyramid Turtle, instead of searching, or excuse me, instead of special summoning a dark monster with 1500 or less attack, Pyramid Turtle can summon any zombie monster specifically with 2000 or less defense, and Vampire Lord happens to meet that criteria. So hypothetically, if the Pyramid Turtle is destroyed by an opponent, or you ran it in purposefully to your own stuff, you can just tutor this guy directly from the deck onto the field, bypassing the need to have to tribute summon it because it is a 5-star monster. You can't just play this from your hand unless you have some effect that allows you to do that. The first effect that you are analyzing more so than the actual special summoning event is more just like a bonus on this card. You're typically never going to call monster because, like you know, you see cards like Call the Haunted Monster. Letting your opponent pick their best monster to send to the graveyard to allow them to set up for like a big play is probably not the best. So typically with Vampire Lord, you call either spell or trap. There are ways to get back the spells and traps in Yu-Gi-Oh, but they are more fewer and further than getting back monsters, and they require a bit more setup. And so, as a result, being able to send your opponent's best spell card or trap card to the graveyard, granted they get to pick, but there's fewer of them in their deck, most likely, and also a lot of these cards may not be banned, but they might get limited to a single copy. So if your opponent gets into a situation where they only have a few spells or traps in their deck, and they're all limited to one, just because that's one of the way they balance the game, then all of a sudden they have to send the worst, best spell or trap card to the graveyard, and that can hinder their future draws, potentially, depending on how long the game goes. The highlight here is actually the inevitability that Vampire Lord has. So Vampire Lord being immune to destruction is not immune, but it just keeps coming back essentially. It's just really annoying. It's something that you need to just get a bigger monster to the field in order to deal with it in combat, rather than using just any spot to kill it, because it's just going to come back and continue. But it was never annoying enough that it made its way onto the ban list. So you are incorrect.
You sound too happy about that.
I can't want to make you feel better.
Raren said this is bad.
I'm pretty sure Raren also got this wrong.
Yeah, put in the clip. It's all right. It's all right. It's easy for us to overanalyze one deck.
You overanalyze? Never. Right. Speaking of overanalyzing, what's each thing?
Reasoning. Overrated already. Your opponent declares a monster level. Excavate cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a monster that can be normal summoned / sent. If that monster is the same level,
Why would you wait until now to activate that?
Cards to the graveyard. If not,
Oh no, wait, it's always been active. My bad.
Monster. Also send the remaining cards to the graveyard. Okay, pick a level. They pick a level. If what you flip is that level, you know.
Yeah, they activated it turn 1. I'm dumb. I'm only realizing now. That's why they always had so many cards in hand.
And you send some stuff, maybe, depending on what you reveal, to the graveyard. In my magic brain, immediately I'm like, well, just don't play any monsters. Flip your whole deck over and play some card that wins the game for having no cards in your deck. Because that's what we do in Magic.
Interesting. You say that, okay.
Yeah. That's how you combo, right? You somehow win with no cards in your deck. Or maybe you activate your graveyard as second hand with a card that lets you cast everything from your graveyard. You know, that's exactly what comes to my mind. That just immediately don't even play this game, this cool thing. Let's not even evaluate. Okay, if this card does what it was designed to do, let's just look at the really screwed up shit we could do. All right, forget it. Who cares about this monster? Anyway, maybe there's. Is there like a no-win situation? Maybe there's like one monster, and even if it goes to your graveyard, that's fine, or it does something from the graveyard, so even if the opponent names that level, they're still screwed. Maybe. Oh goodness. Yeah, this is. So there are ways to break this if those cards exist. Okay. Like that is just like this. The effect of just getting resources or getting what is thought of as an unforeseeable situation or what should be a hard to accomplish situation of empty library or the resources of a bunch of stuff in your graveyard is potentially broken if the card exists. So right there, either they never printed the cards that do that or they did and this card is stupid and busted and might have to get like banned. So that's already difficult. Alright, on the basic level, it does seem like hitting with this if you wanted to run it in more of a fair thing of just maybe you have a deck that likes your graveyard a bit, right? Has reanimation capability, right? And it feels like there's a good chance that this thing can do something good in either way, right? Like that you could just get some amount of graveyard resources. Obviously, this only looks the first monster you see. I don't. You said it's not common to reanimate traps or spells, but you're filling your graveyard with something, right? I think that that's still probably fine, and the odds that the opponent nails it, the odds are higher that they do not. The odds are higher that this is mill some cards and put a thing onto the battlefield, special summon it, so it doesn't count against your summoning thing. It's basically another like fair Yu-Gi-Oh. It's like another creature in your hand, right? It's just you don't know what it is for sure. That unfair Yu-Gi-Oh know exactly what it is because you only run that thing. And if the opponent can't guess it, they dead. Oh man, yeah. There's so much broken potential in this card. I might not like this one. Yeah, I might get this question wrong, but I've learned a lot about what was printed in your game. What's really funny is the cards that I equate this to the most in standard, not banned in Magic. Actually, interesting. Yeah, they just didn't exist in the circumstances where they felt that was necessary. But you upset standard, yeah, until rotation. And then in like vintage and timeless and some of these bigger formats, in a lot of these they're also not banned because interesting. Yeah, which is absolutely wild. But I think a lot of people want this type of effect banned, specifically in Commander, because it's just the best combo. It's part of the best thing in the game that you can be doing. Using the power of reasoning. Since Yu-Gi-Oh is going to ban more things because that's how they rotate their format, I am going to go out on a limb that some of the busted stuff exists. Maybe even a few of the busted things that I mentioned exist, and this card at some point has been banned. That's what I'm going to say. Final answer, yes.
Reasoning's a very fun card. It's very much like a playground card, where if you're playing it at recess and you play reasoning, and your friend has no idea what to call, you get to play your big giant thing for free, and you probably win the game. And reasoning, for all the things you said, I would say are pretty accurate. It's a card that allows you to potentially build around it and do things that you might not be able to do otherwise. So we like to call these types of decks reasoning decks, obviously. And so there's a very popular deck in older formats called Reasoning Gate. Gate is a reference to Monster Gate, which is another card that does something very similar to this. It just requires you to tribute a monster in order to. It's effectively more copies of Reasoning, which gives you more ways to build stuff into. The purpose of that deck is that it only, like you said, only plays a a very small amount of some of the best monsters that you want to be hitting off of this. And the levels of those monsters are also very hard to call correctly because they might be like level 8 or level 7 or 6. And it's something that's, like you said, it's sort of like a no-win situation where if they call it right, it's okay because you might have to wait to get that monster back from the graveyard anyway, but if they call it wrong, then they have to deal with the threat immediately and you have less work to do. There are other decks when this card was taken to the extreme, where reasoning enabled complete just first turn kill decks. There's a notorious one known as Magical Explosion first turn kill, which is Magical Explosion, a trap card that says deal 200 damage to your opponent for each spell.
Oh, right, I forgot
So
about that.
hypothetically,
My
cards
bad.
like Reasoning let you build your whole deck, and then if you activate 2 copies of Magical Explosion while you have at least 20 spells in the graveyard, you win the game before your opponent really gets to do anything. But as Yu-Gi-Oh! Has aged, Reasoning has also found its home in some modern decks. The reason for that is because the Claw Fruit says until you excavate a monster that can be normal summoned or set. There are some monsters now in Yu-Gi-Oh! That cannot be normal summoned or set and say that they can only be special summoned. And as a result of that, Reasoning actually skips over those as monsters that can potentially be summoned off of it, which means the mills continue even though you're milling monsters to the graveyard now, you weren't technically supposed to with this card. This was a way for these certain strategies that just basically live out of the graveyard to mill their whole deck to the graveyard, and now they're just summoning stuff from the graveyard because that's what the deck is meant. And it's a card that is still played to this day in some of those decks, but it was never banned. Although I will say this card is currently at 1. It's kind of gone all over the restricted list. It's been at 1, 2, 3. It's kind of just gone all over. But at this current moment, it is actually limited to 1 because by modern standards, this card is actually still just too powerful in those types of decks.
Did they do nothing about turn 1 kills?
So they banned Magical Explosion FTK. The card Magical Explosion, they just banned that card. That card is actually still on our ban list.
They banned the wrong card. Call it now. They were out to get me back then. This is main character syndrome at its finest.
I would agree. I think this card's just a lot of fun, though. It's like a fun card to have in the game, but there is like some degree of like interactivity with it. But because in an instance where you see your opponent activate reasoning, there's only a handful of decks in the game that will play this card. So now all of a sudden the levels that you can call get narrowed quite a bit. And so you're going to basically almost guarantee that they don't get the monster, but they're going to load their graveyard by like 15, 20 cards, which is all they care about doing. Certainly slowing them down in that class. But I still think it's like a fun casino card. And whether it should be legal or not, I think it's a different story, but I think it's fun.
Alright, I want all of you watching this on the day that Reasoning gets banned to come back to this video and leave a comment with a date on it and be like, CGB was right.
That's fine. I will happily take that engagement. That is totally fine. Alright, 3 cards remaining. Let me know what you think about this card.
Cyber Jar. 3 monster, 900 attack, 900 defense, rock effect. But destroying all monsters on the field. Then both players reveal the top 5 of their decks, then special summon all field level 4 or lower monsters in face-up attack position or face-down defense position. Also add any remaining cards to their hand. The player has less than 5 cards in their deck, reveal as many as possible. Destroy all monsters. Both players get basically a draw 5 with immediate summonings for level 4 or below. Flip. So you have to play in the defense position. When it's either when you get attacked, you can flip this.
Yes, so when it's attacked, the monster would flip face up. If it has a flip effect, that would immediately activate on the field or determine whether or not the monster. Alternatively, if play passes back around to you and this card is still set face down from the turn prior, you can manually flip it up yourself.
And more combating questions that I'm sure I could think of some point. So if they attack, and then this flips, and it destroys their stuff, do they get another chance to attack with the things they put out?
Correct.
They do?
They're still in the battle phase. There's no summoning sickness in our games.
Yeah, but they already attacked. Like, there are windows, there are structures, there are to these things. Like, how can they just be like, okay, now I attack again?
Well, the monster that attacked into the cyber jar would be able to attack. First of all, that monster would be destroyed by cyber jars. So these are all new monsters that would be coming out. Since you don't summoning sickness, you just attack.
Yu-Gi-Oh players are laughing at me. In Magic, we have a very strict order of operation. You would not be able to do this. Okay, but I'm glad I asked. Doing this on the opponent's turn is like you don't want to give them the cards first. We've talked about that before. It does take a number of things down. Like if you play this alone, like you take out 3 of their things, and you are able to play 4 cards from your hand but not lose any monsters because you kind of set up for this exchange. It is, I guess, card advantage, but then you guys both go back 5. Basically 5 options available. And of course, the idea that they can hit a bunch more stuff and punch the crap out of you is intense. But on the other hand, if you get to do this on your turn, like you're going and going and going, pretty strong. There are also cards that flip this face up that I've seen, so you can trigger the effect in other ways, so that you can keep playing and playing and playing. And similar to the pot of greeds, the draw tube, there was the other one with the face, the gritty face little thing.
Morphing jar.
Yeah, morphing jar. It's interesting because it's not quite morphing jar. Is it better than morphing jar?
But also has a face. Look on the left side. That's its little green eye. Its teeth.
I guess. Morphing jar took a break. It's better because it blows up their stuff and then does it. I need to go back and read jar for a second.
Morphing jar is flip effect. Both players discard their hand.
Flip effect, both players discard and draw 5. Doesn't blow up anything. Doesn't put anything straight out into attack or defense position.
I told you, this is the special summoning episode.
I guess it's interesting, right? Because you can build your deck more around this if you're going to maximize this, which means when you trigger it, you keep your Cyber Jar, then you might special summon 3 things in face down position, and the opponent might look at their top 5 and put 1 or 2 things into face up position, but now they're in this position of do-they attack? Because you have just some mysteries. You are now a mysterious gamer, and you were set up for this kind of nonsense. And what if they just hit another song?
To clarify, they get to see the cards. So you reveal the top 5, so both players know the cards.
I see it.
But yeah, so they'll know, but so they can still choose not to attack. But they are going to know what those set monsters are.
Still, you can definitely build your deck more around this than them. It's a unilateral effect, but you can really focus on level 4s that get stuck out. I imagine level 4 monsters aren't uncommon, though, because of tribute summoning, and because it's the max value that you can play for free. I imagine most decks will have some number, but you can still pack yours with more.
Mind you, level 4 and lower.
Yeah, level 4 and lower.
So anything.
If I said otherwise, I misspoke. Let's also feel like this and that other card do make you fly through your deck pretty aggressively, which could be a problem. And it definitely feels like it leads to some of those ongoing turns. So if the jar was banned for some period, I guess I'm unclear why this wouldn't be. It seems like it has advantages over the jar. Obviously powerful, probably abusable. I'm interested in finding out why this isn't as good as the other card. You're probably going to tell me, is this fine? I don't know if this is fine. This seems unfine. Seems unfine. That's so much stuff. Okay, I've been wrong a few times here, but I don't think I was wrong in my reasoning on reasoning. With this one, it just seems something reads broken here, and maybe that's too obvious, but I'll say it got banned. Because it just seems like access to too much stuff. There's got to be something broken. There's got to be. Final answer, B.
Talk about Cyber Jar. So I think comparing to Morphing Jar, because obviously they're all from the Jar family, that makes sense. Morphing Jar targets the hand, both players discard draw 5. Cyber Jar goes after the field. At the end of the day, Cyber Jar is just a board wipe, which is pretty good. And for context, old Yu-Gi-Oh! This is a pretty old Yu-Gi-Oh! Had the board wipes that were available were limited to 1, and Cyber Jar being an extra in addition to those was just a nice way to reset them. Yeah, sure, both players are getting 5 cards.
I think they've admitted defeat.
And it's searchable because it's a monster. Remember, Witch of the Black Forest. Be able to get in a pinch if you need a board wipe and you have any of these tutors to search it because there are several. Cyber Jar is very tutorable just because it has low.
Yeah, that was fucking atrocious. I don't like Mugen. It reminds me a little too much of playing something like Dino Pachycephalo, Stun, Inspector Border. Yeah, Mugen is an Inspector Border as a commander. Yeah, they rage quitted. That is in character for Akira to do, though. Honestly, hungry. It's so easy for Mugen to control the pace of the game in your favor. It's absolutely ridiculous. And she who controls the battlefield usually wins the game. Like I still stick by it. Mugen is Mugen is just mid. She's really bad. But the fact that she's a colorless Signy means you're allowed to play the goodest stuff the game has to offer. The goodest stuff in the game aren't cards that let you win fast and strong and hard and let you and your opponent play the game a lot. No, they are cards that let you and your opponent play as little as possible, as long as possible. I don't like it.